This chapter is going to have us finding the numerical summary for a data set. So unlike the previous chapter where we were showing a graphical summary or even a table to summarize the data, we want to specifically focus on a numerical summary for the data. Specifically in this series of videos, we're going to look at the measures of central tendency. So where does the center of the data tend to lie? Well, one of the centers that you're probably very familiar with would be the average. So we would say that would be the mean or the average in a data set. Two symbols that you need to make sure that you are writing down and keeping track of here. We have one symbol here which is going to be used for when we want to talk about the mean of our population. And this symbol looks like a cursive U. It is a lowercase Greek letter called mu, M-E-W. And that's the symbol that we'll use when we want to talk about population mean. And then here we have our sample mean, which is just going to be represented by X bar. Now remember, when I find the average or the mean of something, we add everything up and we divide by the total. So that's how we're going to go about calculating the mean. The next type of measure for the central tendency is going to be the median. Now, the median is going to tell us the middle of our data set. So median would be middle, and then you're probably already familiar with the last one, which would be the mode, which will tell us the most often used data point. Let's take a look at an example in StatCrunch that's going to help us to illustrate all three of these measures of central tendency. Here I have a data set which is going to give me the salary for the Tampa Bay football team. This data is from 2021, and that's because I happen to recognize some of the names off of it. So this is for Tampa Bay. This is when Tom Brady was playing for them and they went to the Super Bowl. There's another name in here that I recognize, Rob Gronkowski. And you can see here, if we're looking at this column here that's describing the base salary for the football players on the Tampa Bay roster in 2021, just looking at the very top salary here, or the very first name, I should say, if I kind of imagine commas in here, I can see that Tom Brady's base salary was $15 million. We can come down here to the very next person. This person right here, Shaquille somebody, he has a base salary of $15.8 million, and so on. So you have all of these salaries which are listed for you here in this column. And I want to go ahead and look at the summary statistics, if you will, for the mean, the median, the mode. I want to specifically see where the center of this data is lying. So we're going to go in and we're going to let StatCrunch calculate for us the mean, the median, and the mode of this data set. So to do that, I'm going to go to Stat, Summary Stats, Column. I'm going to choose the first base salary that you see here. And then inside of this statistics box, I'm going to select our three measures for central tendency. Select mean first, then I'm going to scroll down here, hold the control button and select median, and then at the very bottom hold control and select mode. So all three of those values are going to be calculated, and you can see them here on that blank. So when I hit compute, what I have here is those summary statistics for the central tendency, the center part of my data. So we can see here that the average or the mean salary for all the players on this particular football team was approximately $2.6 million. So for average, it was $2.6 million. But if we look over here at the median value is actually 0.9 million. So not quite 1 million, less than that. So the median value, or the median salary, I should say, for these players is 0.9 million. So now let's kind of consider a scenario. Let's say that you are a college football athlete and you are getting recruited by this particular Tampa team. And you're trying to be doing your due diligence, and you want to try to figure out, I wonder what kind of salary I could expect to have here? Well, when you go in and you compute the mean and the median of these of this base salary, you'll notice you have the 2.6, which is your average salary, but you have a 0.9 million for the median salary. So which one do you think is going to be more appropriate to tell you what you could expect to have for a potential offer, let's say? We're going to see that the median is actually the better representation of what I could expect for a salary offer because the median tells us the halfway point in a data set. That means that 50% of the players earn more than 0.9 million, but 50% of the players earn less than 0.9 million. Now, as opposed to this average here, the average salary, which says that it's 2.6 million, that doesn't really give me a good indication of what we would normally expect to have for a salary because of all of these big salaries that you see here towards the top. The 15 million, the 15.9 million, the 14.5 million, all of those large salaries play a role in calculating an average. Remember, when we take an average, we add all the numbers up together and divide by the total. So these really very large salaries that we see here have a greater weight in the overall sum of my base salaries. They have more input, if you will, when we're considering that average. So they are actually pulling the average higher than what would normally be expected. So because that's the case, we would maybe consider our median as a better representation. You'll notice here that when we had the mode option selected also, that there must be more than one set of, or there's more than one number that is occurring multiple times within this set. Now, since we're here, let's look at the graph. Remember that a salary is considered a quantitative variable, and so therefore we're going to look at a histogram to represent the graph. We'll go to graph, histogram, base salary, and just for this, we're going to add these two markers here. I want to put on top of this graph, where would the mean be located and where is the median located? So when I click compute, here is the histogram representing the base salary that we were just referring to. And you'll notice that the red line here is representing the median, and you can see that it corresponds with the table that we have on the right. And then here to the right of the median is our mean. And notice, if I were to ask you to describe the shape of this histogram, I hope you'll say that the shape would be skewed right. So we have a skewed data where the data is going, or the shape is moving off in the tail to the right. And then if it's skewed right, also look at this relationship between the median and the mean. Notice that the mean is to the right of the median. That tells me that these large numbers down here in the salaries are pulling this mean, the average salary, to the right. In other words, what we're going to see is that mean gets pulled towards our tail on skewed data. So the mean moving to the right is an indicative of a skewed right distribution because the mean is actually pulling towards those very large values. So this is kind of the idea behind our mean, median, and mode, and what we're looking at when we think of the three measures of central tendency.